taught at Howard University, Hampton University, Florida A&M, and the list goes on. I've had a chance to see the brother on video before. This is my first time seeing him in person speaking. And I
Tap.
Tap.
Let's see here now. This must not be you. Not you connected to this? No. Okay. I appreciate you Africans coming out to the Black Consciousness Conference so that we could advance your knowledge of information that hopefully, if you're concerned, will allow you to be more effective in your desire to make change for African people. And whenever the brother Steve is given a call for him to share what it is that he knows, everyone knows from what angle, from what temperament, from what standard of fact base that the brother shares from. And this is what I'm known for, far more infamous than famous. In many cases, an analysis of the enemy will put you at odds with our leadership, because our leadership has failed to teach their members who the key hunkies are that run the world, because they negotiate with them. And part of their effectiveness as a leader depends upon their ability to contain their membership. And one of the ways you do that is you skew one simple analysis: who are we fighting against? And yes, like in the title, that is why there is confusion on the battlefield, where I might stand up and fight the Rockefeller Foundation. I question its right to build and fund a constituency for Africa project, the Carnegie Foundation, the Ford Foundation. I condemn their right to organize and fund a constituency for Africa, because any analysis of who adversely harmed Africa, you'd come up with Rockefeller, Rhodes, Carnegie, Rothschild. But it's confusion on the battlefield. If C. Payne Lucas becomes the executive director of the enemy's operation to cover its own ass for some shame it produced, and now the perpetrator has financed the response to perpetration, which in fact suggests that's only continuation. So I get in trouble when the analysis comes, because the whole set is dependent upon confusion in the battlefield. Who are we fighting against? Usually when you bring that up, someone will suggest to you, we already know who they are. They will. And you have to think carefully about what they say, because you're witnessing that thing that you're against. You will draw it out like golden seal. Like I got a little abscess, a little jaw swollen up over here, putting golden seal on the swelling to hope it sucks the pus right out. And that will happen when you start that level of intense focus on the enemy, because the leadership won't level with the membership. And that put me at odds with the leadership. They don't come to Coakley program, I don't care what city you're in, even though they damn need the lesson. Brother has invested everything he ever had to demand and command a better focus on who these people are, to widen our ability to influence more people till we have enough to make it happen. It will happen. It will happen with you or without you. That's why we come in the spirit of the Boule. That's how they got it. That's how we're going to get it back. We're going to be factual, we're going to be right, but we're going to be strong, we're going to make change. And confidence is breeded through information, knowledge. I know, therefore, shit, I'm going to go do this shit. A thermometer of capability suggests that what I saw in New York at the Million Youth March let me know that though it isn't organized, the army will materialize at a moment's notice. Because the army is buried deep in the victim's heart. The victims are tired, but the leadership ain't offered the direct lesson. Yes, it isn't really their responsibility, but shit, you got to beat Newsweek. Time names them somebody special. The news makes them somebody important. Every magazine and a book and newspaper article suggests that they should be flaunted. So it's hard getting that out. So that means that it will only provoke itself on a person-to-person basis, which is not bad. If you couldn't be on the television and you couldn't be on the radio, damn, it ain't bad to be person-to-person, because that's the highest level of convincing you could give. So now it is, how many can you get to? Times, how many can you get to? When people tell me, brother, you know, you really ain't a brother till you write a book. I said, brother, those people go through those tapes and they find those books, they eat those books up, and then they go get another tape and another tape, and I know they ain't read the book, they got the book. I got the book, but I know they ain't read the book, because behavior is an indicator of the knowledge. I know you know when I see you do. Now, okay, so we can get some possum involved. When we had the Million Youth March in New York, on Friday night at 5:30 in the evening, we didn't have about a couple $1,000 to do some things like put a sound system for 7 blocks long and to insure that system and the engineers and the other things that had to be done. And we didn't have no money. I mean, we all kicked in. It didn't come to a bunch of shit. They picked up the phone and called Master P. Oh yeah, so he just looking down at the pile of his money. He wires $140,000 in 19 minutes. And by 10 minutes to 6, we beat the bell Friday at 6 to go on the street. 140,000. The reason I brought that up was the possum, because if you read into the media, when the whites went to him, what are you doing financing this thing? He said, I didn't know I was financing that. I thought I was sending money to build a playground in Harlem. But for those that you will read it on a direct level, Colin talked to him 9 times in the last 5 hours before the program, and there's no doubt he meant to do what he did. But don't get caught in the possum that may be played in the public to throw off the enemy. But since we don't talk there no way, he sent that across the deadline. You know, you only know it's right when it's direct. Check?
Check.
Check mean I understand, we can move on. Check?
Check.
All right. As a brother, I say humbly, I'm very proud of the work that we have done across this country without promotion or finance, that we have communicated a focus on an enemy in spite of those who have resisted the computation. You see, if everybody submits the computation and we say, who is the enemy? Everybody bring it in the room. And at the end of this, these will be the top 15 focuses on what is the enemy. That's computation leads to conclusion. Now, you'll watch, people will, we don't need to do this. You will watch them repudiate the 1 + 1 = 2. Now again, 2 things we need. It's 10 things. It's a tape they call the plan. It's 10 things. A plebiscite on what are we for? What do we want? If we were to build a revolution tomorrow and everybody had to sign up, damn, it got to be something on the menu to make you want to eat it. And it must be something that reflects what you want. And so that's a plebiscite. When Harold Washington became the mayor in Chicago, there was no doubt that he would be the only black candidate because of the plebiscite. A group of credible people called jellers came to the middle, Lou Palmer and others, to be the agreed upon arbitrator of the contest. 50 names on a sheet of paper, sent all over the black neighborhood, to the laundromats, to the grocery stores, door to door, ward to ward, precinct to precinct. They come back. 10 people are selected from the 50. From those 10, 3 were selected. From those 3, 1 was selected. And that became Harold Washington. And when they proposed to him to be the man, he said, well, you got to register 50,000 voters and raise $1 million. They raised 200, they raised $6 million and registered 276,000 voters. But Harold Washington was a manifestation of black folks in Chicago's desire for change. And when they murdered him, it only let me know that it is not the ability to snatch the office that makes one a power activator. It is the ability to maintain and protect those who you appoint for those positions. And after they won, they went to sleep and left him vulnerable to other forces. Sometimes this is done more overtly through the Kennedy assassination, the Malcolm X assassination. Damn, it wasn't but a couple of years they tried to kill Khalid Muhammad right there at University of California, Riverside. Assassination is a tool of political advancement. Only problem is it's generally hunkies doing it. That's a problem. When will the cadre develop where people desire to sacrifice themselves on behalf of Black liberation? Maybe you need to treat them good 2, 3, 4 years to build and train them to be expert in compelling change. And that when their moment comes, they stand up on behalf of all of us and live and die for a reason rather than for no reason at all. In many of these other places around the world, people's ability for liberation was based upon the people's for sacrifice. Now you might as well start sacrificing for liberation because you are tolerant on behalf of white liberation. Tolerant, and tolerant is harder on your physical body than sacrifice. Sacrifice is, I do this because I want to. Tolerance is, I hate fucking going to work. Who in here got a job? The word on the street is, if you got a job, you're fucked. I don't mean to belittle those with jobs. Some of those jobs are important, but it's an indicator that there are other priorities than liberation. Will liberation happen on the weekend at the conference or over the Christmas vacation? Nah. Liberation is drop what you're doing, shit, let's get it on. Yeah. In a very strategic, systematic way that at the conclusion of a series of events means change. And I suggest to you as a focus, just as a brother, this is the foundation of the brother's projection to African people, that the foundation of change in America is not the murdering of the president or the vice president or the speaker of the house. It is the destruction of the document that unites the states that makes this a country, the Constitution. Let me hear you say it. Right? The financial system is based upon confidence. The people who tie up the people's money to make sure education and housing and other things don't happen are Congress people. Yeah, they tell you, we just ain't heard them. We ain't put the 3D on to see through the dialogue. They say it straight up. Said the president is a liar. Somebody say, hey, that's the president. That's what the presidents do. You say, hey, that's cool. See, that ain't about nothing. That's what presidents do. They lie. And I say, hey, lying, all right. I ain't into it one way or another. I like the hunkies to tie each other up, take time, slapping hunky left, slapping hunky right. That gives you time to make up your mind. They don't have time to do you. But right now, they're trying to drop what they're doing so that they can giddy on up to you, because on the down low level, they know your ass really getting ready to kick some butt. And they know that because the thermometers around the country will tell them that. Those intelligence communities, and they're here tonight, and they're going to measure your temperament. Is the brother Mukasa in here? I know he's out around the hallway, but Black Power brother. And one of the things that was one of the most awesome things about the moment in New York was that when you holler Black Power to the people and you watch little children, you watch them fists bumping, and you see the intensity with the assertion in the children. I got some films in sometime over the period. While I'm in town, I'll have an opportunity to show you much of this film that we have, because we'll have to communicate to you what it was. They will never do it. But that's all right. That's an all right thing or a demand to have to put on those who have something to share. But let's go back to this Constitution. This thing represents a force of an enemy. One thing that is not computed in African people's desire for liberation is a computation on oath takers. Oath takers, people who swore their ass to uphold some secrets with some other lesser lights, who together represent a force who operate in a clandestine way, usually to take advantage of people who are not so well organized. If a Mason wrote the law, and then Masons become law enforcement, county sheriffs, LAPD, prison guards, on up the law enforcement ladder, they become the preservers of the law that their Mason brother wrote. And then come those who submit to the Mason law, who want the privilege of being above the law when confronted with other Masons. That's an unfair advantage to those who are not members. And it subverts the law that they claim to preserve. That's an accusation. That's something in the revolution that will command the confidence that we will do something that is awfully awesome. As far as a computation on oath takers, in one sense, Freemasonry being a focus. Only thing I'm going to spend time telling you, and I don't have many audio tapes with me. I'll be making them over the days of being here. I do have some. One of the tape deals with the concept of Freemasons coming forth. Francis Bacon developing a fraudulent story to trick hunkies to come from Europe to America, suggesting to them that someplace in America was evidence of white superiority. Of course, it was a lie. You know that. But that was to trick them over here. And when those earlier ones got beat for being invaders, it was hard tricking more of them. So they created a specific legend called Atlantis. And there in Georgia, Oglethorpe called back to the king and put the first Mason thing on the so-called shore. A lot of streets are called Oglethorpe all over America in honor of his excursion on behalf of George, who he then named the state Georgia, and the area of the legend Atlanta. It was a part of a myth game. Hunkies are big on the myth game. They create stories to supplement the facts of their existence. One of the things we know for sure, and don't you ever buckle on this, the hunky has no known origin. Now, when I say that, I'm telling you that the top scholars in white academia have still been unable to link their population to others. There is no link. So they've developed myths. The monkey, then the white man, 8888 white man. Adam and Eve, creation. Right, but you saw in the X-Files movie, they was down in the earth as a cave dweller, and something else bit them who was down there with them. And together they formed a bond called the white race. And never in their history have they ever been proven to be fair and equal about anything. And one of the things we're going to talk about after oath takers is we're going to talk about those who believe in God. There's nothing wrong with those who believe in God or practice religion, but they have a tendency to have a skewed analysis of the white man. Just because God is in the picture, they fuck up the analysis on the evil.
They do.
And we're going to have to deal with this. We have to clean this up to go forward. Deeply looking at the psychology of African people to see if we can translate victory. It's a sustained amount of activity for a sustained amount of time that will lead to a certain amount of conclusions that will make change. And then you must have allies in other countries to protect your game that you will make here. It's an honor that you could be born next to the most brutal and beastly race of people ever to develop in the history of the world. This honky right here in America is the king of all of that. And you're right at it, within striking distance of it. One of the strategies we pull in response to this is there are 40 state capitals: Atlanta, Des Moines, Iowa, Tallahassee, Florida. You start thinking the state capitals where on certain days, black people gonna ring those capitals arm in arm just to let other black people know we within striking distance. Don't you let nobody tell you you on some impossible mission to make change. That's the enemy right there. Because when you ask them for computation, you see they ain't even thought it out. So how are they so profound in their conclusions? And then you must know and strike them. I warn you, if you act again without computation, I will suggest you are a perpetrator. And as such, there's something we do to them. You will not be allowed to perpetrate without proof, even marginal, plausible. Better come with something. Okay, those hunkies that then, as a few people, the stage, the people on the stage were looking at the country, and together they wrote a law that adversely impacted all the rest of the people in the chairs. Fundamentally, that is a violation of every known universal principle. There is no grant to the minority to do anything that adversely affects the majority. That's a violation. That's a crime. That's law breaking on the principle of universal understanding. So, as a basis for change or revolution, that document is considered the organization of a criminal enterprise called America. 13 of them made the first sealing of the bad deal, and everybody else got affected adversely until they had taken the whole thing. I only say that as a base discussion for when you're pressed to the wall and someone will tell you that you have to be ashamed of fighting against this honky. You just go back to the beginning and remind them it was phony from the jump. And any other point that they want to prove they was less than phony, you say undo what you started and then we can start talking. And that's why those people who are original people get caught up in deals over casinos and other payouts so that when we challenge this honky, he gonna say, I paid them all. Yeah. So we be getting to them, look, resist some of this cheese they passing because we might get the whole shit by one way or another. Now, so these Freemasons, strategy, these Freemasons who penetrate the society, and I can tell you from articles, endangered conspirators, Freemasons who used to be blamed for everything, now seem almost quaint. Can a youth movement rescue them? Time magazine, May 25th, 98, advocating for the youth to come support the law preservers because they are in jeopardy of extinction. The Kabbalah, story promoting the Kabbalah to get little white people of the Jewish religion to get into a mystery system of understanding, to get their youth to organize. Now, isn't it ironic that this was the year of the youth who were organizing, and simultaneously the honkies are trying to get their youth in the vessels to stand guard for the resurrection? Now, on the home front, in Britain, you know, honky is how America go, Britain go, American go. There's this historic alliance. In terms of strategy, this article suggests something that's very significant. In Britain, they found out that some of the key criminal enterprises were done by men who happened to also be the Grand Master of their lodge. But also within the lodge were the bailiffs and the sheriffs and the police and the judges. And as such, the judges could not rule against the Grand Master. So criminal enterprises were developing that were protected by the lodge. So the Home Secretary of Britain has suggested that Masons better now voluntarily register with the government. All Masons register with the government. Now, for tying up a group of oath takers who are not necessarily on our side, fuck, do it. I say do it here too. Tie their asses up, make them all register, let you know how dense their penetration of the professionalism, especially law enforcement, is. Let you see that. Now, the Home Secretary is like the president in Britain. He said that if he doesn't get up those who were preserving the law, who were only for joining, wanted the privilege to be above the law. And as an indicator, I would lay this as foundation that such a demand needs to be made here. Now, what about Black Masons? Someone would then say, are they a threat to Black liberation? Confusion on the battlefield. Anyone who submits to a blindfold is not for Black liberation.
That's right.
Now, that's a comprehensive statement, and I'll say it again. Anyone who submits to a blindfold cannot be for Black liberation because the oath that they took is compelling enough that it could supersede any commitment they make to me and you. Because that oath is an oath sworn against violence, even against one's family. What is the problem with Masonry? Me and sister are married. We've been married 20 years.
I go into the lodge. Now they tell me something. I just met them last week. Now they tell me something that actually separates me from my wife of 20 years. Because now I can never tell her what I learned there, because as a non-member, we're now separated by strangers. Principal, you understand? What's the problem with the blindfold? I have up here on a tape one of the rituals where they walk the man around, they walk him around and stuff. They walk the guy around this little platform, and they ask him, will you reveal the secrets of a master mason? And he says, my life, but not the secrets. And then they replicate some symbolic, you then die. And they stab him. And then another group of people confront him blindfolded with a mentor. And they challenge him again, will you reveal the secrets of a master mason? And he says, my life, but not the secrets. Now, this is one of the earlier rituals that they must learn that there are consequences. Yeah, it's gonna make them all go in a minute. Because consequences will command. Consequences will command that the way they can join. Now, why do I draw attention to blind loyalty? Because in the good book, in the higher order, it says that when you're forming the army of liberation, it says on the path, you will meet people of like character. And with them, you will form a bond that needs no utterance of mere words. Now, that's the Black liberation standard. On the path, you will meet people of like character, and with them, you will form a bond that needs no utterance of mere words. You will know this. But that other thing can't depend upon righteous call. It must go to the blind call. That, look, man, I'm a devil-ass, no-good bastard, and to get with me, you got to blindly do what I say. Because this foundation is based on obedience, not on edification. You understand the principle of denying information to keep confusion on the battlefield? And one of the ways you do it is you ritualize your supporters. Now, you'll greatly underestimate that 15 minutes of dialogue, but I'm telling you, when the shit starts, we going after the oath takers. They're going to have to repudiate, change, demonstrate, or go down because they have sworn into something that's higher than Black liberation. And violence has kept them from revealing it. The threat on their mama, their family, and themselves. And if you, everywhere I went, you all know I do a demonstration. I ask somebody who are Greek. I ask them, do you like Brother Steve? Yeah, I'm with you, Brother Steve. I said, well, give me the secret handshake. Show everybody. You know they pull the shit back. Because, see, there's something higher than Black liberation. And I've now challenged those oath takers that we didn't got to the bottom of that shit, and that ain't nothing but the devil shit. And we can prove it. So we can challenge on computation. We'll have a computation out. Now, this is a prelude to just, we're not looking for convincing. We will act in spite of that. But as brothers to brothers, see, somebody say, look, man, we got a white guy running against a Boule guy. I say Boule better than Honke on principle. So they're just the same way. Let's have a chance to get straight, but if not, let's get on with it. Okay. So concept, now they've been showing you names of other Masons and people. I got a list of the Rothchilds and all the other people who are involved. And we'll get to that. I'll even put that article back up there. But in principle, I want you to understand what I'm saying. Now I'm going to show you the ritual to get you an idea of looking at the compelling moment of oath taking. Let's see here. Oh, wrong side.
Mr. Smith, you are received in the ministry upon the point of a sharp instrument piercing your naked left breast, which is to teach you, as this is an instrument of torture to your flesh. With the recollection thereof be to your conscience, should you ever reveal any of the secrets of Freemasonry unlawfully.
And upon that, they can compel them to do anything.
Vouchsafe thine aid, Almighty Father of the universe, to this our present convention, and grant that this candidate for Masonry may dedicate and devote his life to thy service. Endue him with the competency of thy divine wisdom, that by the secrets of our art, he may be better enabled to display the beauties of holiness of thy holy name. Amen. Mr. Smith, in times of imminent peril and danger, in whom do you place your trust? In God. All right, as a former worshipful master, I want to ask you a couple things.
And a little bit later on, they walk up on the ritual where they start walking him around the room and getting him challenged by people while he's blindfolded. And he's challenged to see if he will protect the secrets in spite of being attacked or threatened. And they reduplicate this process until they're comfortable that he has become that which can safely be told secrets that ain't nothing but stolen shit from Kemetic people. I mean, we ain't even gonna get into proofreading the stuff. It's a violation too. One of the things I noticed, just key thing that I'm checking in some of the higher Masonic literature, they claim that, well, you know, the desire to kill someone with the secrets is something we learned from those who built the pyramids, because those people who buried the kings got locked into the chamber. And that's how you protected the secret of his whereabouts. And so they're claiming that, hey, in duplication of this, you know, we want to do that ourselves with secrets and other things. And so they've gone into the same process of, and this tape will roll into that portion. And behind this section here is another section that deals with the movie The Brotherhood of the Bell, where Glenn Ford and Dean Jagger are standing around a bell doing a ritual implicating something like Skull and Bones at Yale. And he says, for 200 years, we have dominated politics, commerce, blank, blank, blank. And Dean Jagger says, and the only way we have been able to do this is through one thing and one thing alone. And then they all say obedience. Obedience. How many people do what you say? This is a part of the ritual here, where now they're going to bring the man in the lodge. Now, again, my only principle for you and this is blindfold. Now, I don't know who in here is a Greek, but you can holler out under your breath. When you did your thing, did you have to wear a blindfold? Yes, of course you did. And what we've been able to establish now is commonality in ritual. Commonality in ritual. You can look in the Delta book and hear the Delta say that we broke away from the AKs because they didn't have a secret handshake. They didn't have no rituals and no secret passwords. So we broke away and became the Deltas. And we went out and got Mary Church Terrell to write us a ritual. You heard of her, right? And the reason Mary Church Terrell was effective because her husband, Robert Terrell, was the Grand Master of the DC Lodge of Masons. These are important connections. What does it say inside of the Alpha history book? It says the Alpha say, hey, look, we was up there at Cornell and we went in the president's office, the book on Henry Callis. We sat with the ex-president Andrew White, and he taught us how to set up a society. Andrew White was a Skull and Bones man out of Yale. Why is that important? Because the first of the Greek societies, the Boule. The Boule. Started, and I guess we must have went past the ritual. Did y'all see him going around and walking in a circle and all of that? Right, okay, I'm with you. The Alpha history book says that at Cornell, we used to clean up the white fraternities and sororities, and we watched the rituals that they were doing. Then you go back and see that the Alphas and Andrew White Coming then behind the Sigma Pi Phi, the Boule. And the Boule says in their history book on page 28, we like Skull and Bones at Yale. And Skull and Bones at Yale is the second chapter of a German society that came from Bavaria, Germany, where you call something called the Illuminati came from. Now, everybody into the word Illuminati, but ain't that sound on the evidence to show it such, relates to African people and then on up back to the white man. And I say now we've come with conclusive linkage between societies. I only have brought 2 copies. Maybe I still didn't keep this up right. I only have brought 2 copies of a tape called The Oath Takers, where we've gone beyond the Boule. You want to know the base connections of Skull and Bones and the societies. It's called Base Theory on Evil plus the Oath Takers, the ritual of the Mason ritual and the Brotherhood of the Bell, and Bill Cosby using the word Boule to open up a secret chamber. All of those are on the Oath Takers tape. It'll give you a definitive look through an overhead of the evidence that makes us come to this conclusion that there's linkage between societies. Now, if you link the African or Black societies to, in fact, even in the Delta book, it says that we link our rituals are similar to the Freemasons, and the Freemasons are the direct descendants of the Greeks. And that's a point of deviation. That's where a man who knew nothing about a supreme being began to create legends known as God about himself. That's the point of deviation. Okay. Check or no check? Okay, tired check. All right. Now, a matter of fact, let's make it so. I use this shot to implicate the significance of the Black men known as Sigma Pi Phi, who are the apex of Black organization. I had a brother who ain't necessarily into Black power, but he's an artist. You tell him the vision, he can draw the concept. And on that urn is a circle within a circle, which is in their logo. And also above that are Sigma, 9 squares pi, 9 squares phi. And just to tell you simply, those are esoteric symbols. Esoteric means mystified, to add separation from the flock. See, when the Prince Hall Masons, who were the most powerful organization next to the church during the Civil War, you can follow this in the book Aristocrats of Color, what they did in the Black community was create separatist feelings between the one who was ritualized and those who weren't. It made one person think they were better than another. It's something religion tends to do. Societies tend to perpetrate this, and all of these are counter African liberation. Now, this symbol suggests that the apex of Black organization cut a deal with the white man to be no more than an aid to something they consider higher than themselves. It's a confession in their mere resurrection or manifestation. There's a faulty judgment. We will never be nothing more than an aid to the white man. So you got the king and queen of Europe who can't colonize the whole world with their sons and their daughters, so they go out and make some deputies. The born man start making a man. That's where Cecil Rhodes comes in, a made man. He's at Oxford. He's being taught the imperial way. Colleges are very important to secret societies. Skull and Bones College, University of Ingolstadt College, the Greek Society's college. College is very important. College as an institution might be damn in the focus of those who are counter what we want to be. College may be ashamed to meet you here. Principle. Okay? These men, okay, let me stop this. These men who cut the deal never to be higher than another man, compromised the extent, the capability of the race. And in fact, they described in their own history book, they described something about themselves. They made a point to say that the reason, Charles Wesley, the reason we relied upon the Greek thing, see, everybody tell you secretly it's a black thing. Well, if you go to the evidence, it don't never say the black thing. So when they come with these supplanted suggestions about what they are, it never made the history books, which is the foundation of the society. Don't let nobody fool you. Now, so they say, and you, my friends, have seen this many times, you understand that all I want to do is to verify that they say they relied upon Greek history and tradition. The reasons for this action are not difficult to discover, for it is well known that the study of Greek civilization was the basis for an acquaintance with Western civilization, which means that the desire was to know more about the white man, who then stole their legacy, which is where George James comes in. Then he goes on to describe that the lower house of the Greek parliament is called Boule, which means that they admit that they have taken the position of subordination. That's a key word because the foundations of these societies are submission and subordination and obedience. You don't even need to be intelligent. You don't need to be dedicated. All you got to do is do what you're told. And that's why that's a faulty foundation. Even when the white man took and stole the principle of Ma'at, he put a blindfold on her ass and called it justice. Because he knows the blindfold is his MO. He demands blind loyalty because he can never go the righteous way. So we only, an oath was taken to observe the laws, to give advice according to his best power and to examine this and say, in fact, you're right, I didn't even turn our things to be there. So, thank you. All right, this principle. On page 29 of the second history book, they describe their logo. And just for foundation, I just must say this. For foundation, they describe their logo, and I'll show you a copy of it here. Now, this is at the top of the man. That's their logo there. They describe that as, you notice it's a circle within a circle in there. That's not no arbitrary bullshit. That's the MO of the Rothschild secret society. The born man made a man. You saw that special they put on by Cecil Rhodes where they showed he was a homosexual running around colonizing Africa. That's what the show was entitled, How a Homosexual Colonized Africa. They ran back in January of last year a 6-hour special on Cecil Rhodes, and you needed to see it because it was embarrassing for Africa. And it was done by Boule, who always been Rockefeller, who merging with Exxon, who always been Rockefeller. As an indicator, Rockefeller is showing he's got control back of the Congress, got control back of the presidency, got control back of corporations. It took him 90 years to get it back. He got it now. They broke it up and now he put it back. Took him. That's an indicator. And that ain't in no opposition of no black community. Don't even have a thesis on it. No computation on the epitome of the beast. Must be containment strategy. So don't feel bad if you emerge. As a brother, I can tell you there are at least 100 cities that know about the Boule, no PR. And that's because of the compelling will, the validity of the information, and the passing of the word. And in 100 cities, they can tell you, we get in pure hell. I saw the head of the Chicago Boule at the Black Caucus. He said, man, you have ruined me in every city in this country. And I said, my friends patted me on my back. We proud of you, brother. And that's a compelling thing that, but he ain't gonna fuck with me or nothing. He ain't gonna get in my face. He ain't gonna like run up on me and start no shit now, because that'll call up the other part of the operation. Right. See, with your facts, you bring your force. But don't go out there calling the truth without the force to back it up. Don't be so naive about the power of righteousness versus a blindfolded enemy. Now you can see why strategies don't work, because we ain't jumping the hurdle correctly. It ain't never been no thing. Now, I ain't got no problem with these societies and census. There are people in all of them who tell me things about them. I have liaisons through everything. But now I must raise another question to you, something about their penetration of the professions that can help Black people that we may not have computated that could present a deeper danger of the oath takers, especially in the Black community. Rhodes, Rothschild, secret society, circle within a circle. Born man made a man, and the made man went and made the Negro. The born man made a man, and the made man made a Negro. And in the Negro, 10%, W.B. Du Bois, starting the New York chapter, starts the talented 10th, and everywhere the white man went, he took 10 niggas and told them to control the other 90. And instead of busting that up, people who become militant only want to get with it and sit on the council with them and preside over Black people and keep them ignorant and keep confusion on the battlefield because they get paid for control, not for enlightenment. Right. But then that's a compelling moment for you to emerge. If you start now, you're in the front. Because they scared away the weaker ones, but I don't know, I think under the cover, this shit is pretty tight, but that cannot emerge until it's too late to recover. Don't feel bad if you look like you're down on runs and it's getting late in the game. You have to have the faith to know you got the shit there just waiting, but it cannot emerge because another day won't last past the day the hunky see it. And I'm telling you, when I show you the film of what was going on in New York, and it's a shame I may have to start back lecturing at midnight tonight or something to finish all of this, but when you start looking at to see the brothers fighting the police and you see policemen standing back there not attacking, they just jumping around, you can see that them honkies did not want to fight with Black people who had made up their mind. And you saw Black people who had made up their mind would fight against all odds for Black people if the call was made. And college strategically gave the call in an uncompromising manner. And I have available for you tomorrow a tape I had in my hand on the stage. And the crowd noise was so much stronger than what C-SPAN, who had muted the sound, could give you. They told you it was 6,000 people. When you see these lines, you'll say, shit. But they would never want you to know that had emerged, because that busts up everything they've been doing now for 90 years. They ain't easily gonna do that. They ain't gonna communicate that they're getting in trouble. But that's all right, they don't have to. So it says in the Boule logo, a strike Boule history book, number 2, that the paw is over the urn, and in the urn are the names of the people who run the state. Now, if I tell you that's the Rhodes Rothschild logo, and it's inside the urn, and their paw is what, letting it out? Is it letting it out? Nope. It's holding it down. So lack of knowledge was in fact a sworn responsibility of the apex of the Black community, who was no more than a subservient to the white man. Now I'm gonna tell you, that took me 10 years to get to that shit. Just that little line took 10 years to come conclusive that we done went around these niggas and got to the earthing of their shit. They ain't got nowhere to go now that we got supreme facts. Other than fess or go down, it's clarity. Clarity on the battlefield compels change. Now, as soon as I leave here, motherfuckers be saying, Coakley, man, teeth all fucked up, jaw swollen, look all fucked up. Man, how you gonna believe some shit he talking? You know they gonna do it fast as I walk out of here. Motherfuckers gonna be telling you Coakley ain't shit. Coakley spit, slobber, everything. Coakley flunky. Coakley, all of that. But it's his evidence you should attack. Fuck me, I'm just a vessel. I'm nothing to this. The day I don't submit to sharing it with you, my ass is out of here. I'll get hit by a car by nobody. And that brings up the fact, who are you to save yourself when you have no control of what happens with your destiny? So don't be no punk thinking you saving yourself. Again, you could get hit by a car by a nobody, waking up nobody, saving yourself for the day. submit to it. If there is better evidence, bring it forth. The challenge, I will submit to it. Now, y'all know I had that debate with Larry L. the last time I was up in here. And we kicked his ass. And one of the things that we did, was I sent all these boxes of information. He come with 2 folders. And he was saying shit that wasn't even true because he just felt because he was who it was that made it so. But that wasn't the standard of the people who were in the room. The people in the room say, show me this shit. And we just show you operation. If there is a better analysis, bring it forth. We will submit to that. That's a proactive in the process operation. Nothing secret about it. We have no secrets. We have no secret meetings. We don't have secret phone conversations. That we sleep good because there's nothing to maintain. We have nothing to fear, but not fulfilling the reason we were born. I'm scared of that. I'm scared of that. And I remember when the shit was getting ready to break out in New York, and everybody was saying, look, man, sisters, you can hear on the tape, Bear Shine go holler out, women and children off the stage, women and children off the stage. And I looked out the back, and I could see people just organizing. College said, unhook those railings, decide now who will step up. You can see people getting in position and shit, you know? I said, look at this shit. And just when I thought that shit couldn't have got no higher, he said, you take them sticks and ram it up their ass, and then people just went. And it was a feeling like you went, shit. College ain't it great to have their ass outnumbered, and all of a sudden the police who felt like they had us surrounded, all of a sudden at the same moment felt like, damn, we're in the middle of this shit. These motherfuckers got us surrounded. They look convincing. They started moving the blue shirts out. They started to decide they don't want the women to get involved. And I was glad there wasn't a lot of black police. I got one film showing you policemen for 10 blocks lined up waiting for assignment. And you just look at their faces and you see ain't but 5 brothers out of 10,000 hunkies lined up, which was good. And then we did find the blacks. They had taken positions way out on the peripheral. And we would thank you. I said, man, you know we ain't getting in that shit. That was important. Because when you go downtown, there is a defection factor. You will have perpetrators who have penetrated, but there is a defection factor. And then there is the factor that most of the people want to be with the winner. They don't give a fuck who it is. Then there's a bunch of people who ain't into shit. They don't care which way it goes. So you got to add those in. So it don't take everybody to pull it off. You just got to know how it all links back together. All right. Eddie Williams, Joint Center for Political Studies. He the man of the group now. He's the Grand Sergeant at the Washington, D.C. Boule. But that says that they're maintaining knowledge on, so that means that all those under them have to do the same. And then it's Sigma, 9 squares, they've obscured it here. Those 9 squares are the 9 chambers of Kabbalah. It says in their book that like Skull and Bones of Yale, we went up to New Haven, Connecticut, and shit, it's the city of the 9 squares. And that was all the Kabbalistic translation as to why they put the 9 squares, which is the 9 squares of Saturn, which is the structure that's a circle within a circle. And it gets into the word Azazel. And then if you remember the flick Fallen, when Denzel Washington wiped the damn name off the wall, it was Azazel. Then he pulled a book down, which was actually Manly Palmer's Hall, Secret Teachings of All Ages. And he opens it up to a certain chapter. Very important stuff. I thought it was very important in the flick. I challenge you to go check it, The Devil's Advocate, which I thought was a profound movie to hear the arrogance of evil translated by saying we pump people up with the thoughts of themselves. Vanity. And why was the devil, what was the devil? He was a lawyer. Because law is the devil's creation, child. I'm trying to tell y'all, it's the Constitution. And the devil just went out and claimed it in the movie. Now, that's bullshit. But the key thing is, at one point in the movie, they're walking around to a subway. Before they go down, they walk up on the Chinese guy. And he goes, he says, hey, he had a chicken that plays tic-tac-toe, but he ain't here today. Now, the scene don't make no sense till the camera pans back and you see that the restaurant they're standing in front of is 555. or 15. Because when you say tic-tac-toe, the nine squares are really tic-tac-toe with a square around it. And so when you say the number 15, that's the sum of those numbers. When you make the magic square, all the numbers come out to 15. If you go to the tarot deck, 15 is the devil card. Base theory on evil, I'll translate all these for you. It's a lot more complicated, but simple. We've reduced it to a translatable form. Now it comes something I think it's important. Well, secondary. This is the Boule membership roster. It just explains that the names of themselves that they give to the members are for the exclusive use of the members. It is not for public scrutiny, not to be duplicated in whole or in part for distribution outside the fraternity. Now, one of the things I'm proud of is that we put out the names and the addresses in every city we ever been in. That's part of the obligation, is to make what seeks to be unknown known. Then we tell them about it. Then we ask them to go ask them about it. Then they bring back the engagement. Then we go deeper. Now, this I think has massive implications. Oh, also the Boule has a page. You can jump on their webpage, see the history books, sigmapiphi.net. sigmapiphi.net. You can see the history books and all that stuff. But this is from the Alpha Phi Alpha homepage, which I think is very significant. Look at that chapter right here. It suggests that Alpha Phi Alpha men are 75% of all black male lawyers. Now, you may say, well, shit, is that so? Well, there's so much ritual in becoming a lawyer. Even after you pass the bar, they put you through a ritual. If you ask a lawyer about the ritual, he ain't gonna tell you. Because once as an officer of the court, they are sworn never to be against the Constitution, because it's the foundation of their profession. Check? Okay, so now, if the alphas are 75% of all black male lawyers, then how many are kappas? Say they're 5. Let's say the omegas are 5. Let's say Phi Beta Sigma is 5. Let's say Sigma Pi Phi is 5. How many do that leave for just straight brother? How many do that leave for just, if it's 75 plus 5, 5, and 5, how many do that leave for just straight brother? No, I left 5, it's 5 there. Okay, so you got 4 5s plus 75 is 95. Now, problem. Law ain't never helped black folks like it should have. Thurgood Marshall, who was the epitome of black law, was also an informant for the FBI. He also was a 33rd degree Mason. He also was a Boule. The Boule was the original vessel for American military intelligence liaison over the black neighborhoods. The original vessel. 1919, Memphis Commercial Appeal starts the story of the Boule. Even Du Bois was going to be made a punk under Spingard, who was head of the Negro section, while he was head of the Negro organization. Spingard was head of the Negro subsection of the military intelligence over niggas. And Du Bois was going to be sworn in as his lieutenant to trick niggas into World War I. And you would be a nigga to do that. Now, I don't know, maybe you might not get the significance of this, but what is the significance of ritualized, blindfolded people being 95% of those men who deal on law? What is the implication? Does it seem like just regular bruh don't get a fair break? Not even on the black side. And I raise this up to you to say we have underestimated the penetration, maybe the shit, you know what? Maybe the shit is that the hunky don't let them pass unless they've been sworn to something. And I'll tell you this, I'll bet you this. I want you to go out and find a naturopath or any holistic medicine person and ask them, are they a Black Greek? I guarantee you 99% of the time they won't be, because if you are a Greek, you must uphold the epitome of medicine, Hippocratic, else you can't be in it.
Exactly.
Because as an oath taker, that's what you do. You uphold the institution that grants you special status. Why do you know? Because we see in the 95% of all historically Black colleges have had an alpha man as president. But what does that mean about the rest of them? All the rest of that time, and I'll tell you, we're coming with that computation. You're going to see that 97% of the Black college presidents have been Boule members. That means that education can guarantee that they never know the names. And since these would be educated people who would go out in the Black community and think they were better than other Blacks because they were certified by the education authorities, they would then perpetrate negativity because the attitude was that they knew more, but in fact they knew less. Or have been taught screamed education. Now, again, I suggest that you take these tapes and go back and study them, because some of the shit I say may just blow past you. I don't want to lose you. I hope I don't over-clarify shit. But I'm telling you, we've come to some deep foundations about things, and we're acting on them in an uncompromising manner. And I just laid this before you, that it suggests that this shit could be worse than we thought. And that deals with doctors, dentists. I gotta go to a dentist or some shit, and I go to this. Is you in the Boule? I get to go get some teeth while I'm here. Yeah. This is the back of their membership roster. You can see that logo again, that circle within a circle thing, and I'm not gonna go any further than that. Now, interestingly enough, Tony Brown got a book that has come out that's supposed to be talking about the Illuminati conspiracy. But as an alpha, I can tell you, and there's a tape I did called Tony Brown Ain't Black. That shows that when we asked him in Indianapolis about whether there was a Boule or not, he jumped up. In fact, this is in his book, I think page 22 of his book, Empower the People. He jumped up and said that when he went to Indianapolis, he was Jew-baited by a group of Blacks who tried to Jew-bait him into something about B'nai B'rith. When actually, when you hear the tape, since there was no taping, my friends were taping, you hear on the tape, they asked him about the Boule. He said, the Boule, it don't even exist. Don't even research that. Then he said, what about Rockefeller? This one, he said, they ain't nobody. If they were somebody, you wouldn't even know who they are. No, the significance of the hunky program is that they can put it right in front of you and you wouldn't recognize it as the hunky program. It ain't hidden hunky program, it's right in your face hunky program. And so part of the people try to make it like it's some secret hidden away hunkies. The hunkies who here are out there, out front, but they've never been taught upon. Or at least their forces make sure you belittle the ones who teach upon them. Anyway. And so he goes on to say he was Jew-baited and everything. And in the tape, you'll hear that part. The questioner accused him of covering shit up. And he said the only thing he ever been is in the alphas. And the only secret thing they had was the song. And yeah, the Greeks are actually the original Africans. And a bunch of skewed bullshit. Then he says you got to fight the Rockefellers, the Trilateral, this and that. And he says you fight them by buying gold and oil, both of which are Rockefeller dominated. It's a contradiction. Exactly. So this is how you know the enemy when you come up on them. Like we said, Jesse Jackson. So the MO of the enemy is they will begin to give you double talk. In fact, you'll be listening to them, your head will go. And believe me, when you do this, they go, oh shit, they know. Because they're going to talk to you in a odd sort of way. It's like this thing where you married to somebody and you love them so much you slap them, say, I love you. And they go, damn, do they love me? Do they hate me? Do they love me? And that neutralization, that I don't know if it's tomorrow or yesterday, that makes you do nothing. You get neutralized because you can't get an affirmation in either direction. Polarization or clarity is good. But if you get a little of this and a little of that, you don't get nowhere. You get stuck. You fail to make up your mind unless you go for computation. And that's an obligation everyone doesn't have the time to do, because you already told me you was fucked. And it means you don't have time. Okay. Now, oh, you know, the epitome of the white thing is Albert Pike. This is the House of the Mother Supreme in Washington. Albert Pike is buried. That's a bust of Albert Pike. He's buried behind that wall there. That's the great staircase at the House of the Mother Supreme in Washington. They have headquarters for these things. This is 33 columns, 33 feet tall. This is just a few blocks down from the White House on 16th Street. And they got little griffins and gargoyles on the point. And that's what that logo is, a griffin, a gargoyle, a Grecian sphinx, a guardian animal. The epitome of the black people never wanted to be no more than a guard dog for the white man. Okay, now, and that we know they hooked the skull and bones of Yale. That's a whole nother story. America's secret establishment and skull and bones will tell you. The Alpha History book says that the fraternities are connected to the Greeks, the core of German universities and the Middle Ages. It got some round table shit to do in there too. The white group is called Round Table. And that round table, let's show you how Andrew White was connected to the Skull and Bones boys, who then taught the Alphas how to come forth. But the point is the round table, the circle within a circle, has deep esoteric symbolism all within it. And that is better established for you in the tape-based theory on evil plus the oath takers. And I just leave that at that. The Boule dominated education to the point that in 1919, the black community came against the Boule, believing that they were assigned to destroy education. They wanted to throw out Roscoe Bruce, and 20,000 citizens were demanding his removal. These are black people in 1919 figuring out that the Boule, as a secret society, was taking over black education, sworn to uphold members, and said that if a Boule walked up on another Boule who was doing wrong, he'd let him off. At the Good Life, when they were here for the convention, July 18, 1990, LA Times, they put a story on them. They brought the story into the Good Life. We read it to the audience. I left here, went to Morgan State, read it out to them. Sister said, I know my professor got that book. She said, the professor wants the booty. He said, I can see the book if he go out on a date, he wants the booty. She said, Brother Steve, what should I do? I said, sister, get the book. Now, this raises another question. The sister was proud. She did meet with the brother. She did get the book. She did not give up the booty, and that was due to her skill. But here's another point here. How bad do you want black liberation? Will you go to bed with someone who you don't want to advance black liberation? How many of you here would have sex with someone who you do not want if it would advance black liberation? Raise your hand. Okay, now I need the rest of you to look around the room. Raise your hands, hold your hands. Don't be ashamed. Just look around the room. I want you to see how many people would do anything for black liberation. And right now, the majority of the people will not do it. You can put your hands down. I appreciate all of you. The majority of the people, we can conclude, did not want to do that. Now, there's two things going on. One, I was here last week. I was here last week because I knew there was a big party and shit going on. I had my camera crew here and everything. And what we did was we went around and we was watching people, filming them. They was going in. The party was over. Everybody was boop, 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 boop. And we got him camera. I said, well, why do you get this evidence, brother? I said, because when I asked them, will they have sex for black liberation, and they tell me no, I want to show them last weekend when I caught them having sex for no reason at all. Jared? Okay. Point. Anybody remember the movie Harlem Nights?
Yeah.
Sunshine.
Yeah.
Right? Strategically had to take down the white boy so that the brothers could do the business in the street.
Exactly right.
You might not like the position, but if you want liberation, you can't tell me you got conditions of doing it. Because that I just showed the rest of you all that it was about 2 out of 5. That means that we got a struggle to go on. If you have to be willing to do anything to make change. But then again, maybe you think ain't shit going wrong. See, maybe we might have to stand up on the wall and pat everybody down and see if maybe America's all right with you. But if it ain't, if you believe it is a violation from the beginning, and as such can never add up to anything, it's at its apex. That's why you see its confusion. When Y2K come, don't let them suck you into martial law. We will start attacking. If they pull that shit out, we will attack immediately. Because we're not going to allow martial law, and we ain't going to let siege and enemy of the state set the climate to make us accepted either. Right? Okay, let's go back. You ain't gonna tell me that Monica Lewinsky left Brentwood, LA, and went all the way to the White House as an intern with no grades at all. And went down there and took that head on behalf of the Israeli government.
That's right.
To bring Clinton to his knees and put him in a compromising position. You ain't gonna tell me they ain't out there doing it. In fact, some funny things aside of that, but if you read the book By Way of Deception, they have a group, they have 1,500 agents, they call them swallows. And the term tells you that's all they do. 1,500 people, male and female, who don't do anything but oral sex. And as such, they have the power over the people that they put it on. And that gives the government the power for the needs that they have. So 1,500 worldwide, they call them swallows. I remember when George Clinton was on Politically Incorrect. They said, George, what do you think of the scandal? Shit, George Clinton said, they said, I think it's a case of swallow the leader. And it was ironic that when we get to the By Way of Deception, and tomorrow you can get a tape from me called Intel 2000. And it suggests that because of the Million Youth March in New York, and it came strong like it did, that we've compelled the intelligence community to come tighter towards us. And as such, we have to be tighter towards them so that we don't end up making them think or have the confidence that they can move in on or sacrifice anyone in the operation because we're willing to say it's tit for tat. And usually when it's point for point, few people are willing to risk a point to make a point. Now, so let's go back. How many of you would be willing to have sex with somebody who you didn't want to advance black liberation? Raise your hands. Everybody turn around and look. You got to look now because you need to raise your hands real good now. Don't be ashamed to raise your hand now. Because the worst part of the story is if you're a woman, your first assignment is another woman. If you're a man, your first assignment is another man.
This is America.
This is just to test the fact that you mean what you say. See, you thought you was going to get sex with somebody who you really want. You have to get your shit on your own. Okay. So as a point, we just check, no check. Okay.
No check.
You know, I want to know if we straight or not straight. I want to go past the point. Okay, now. Okay, now we have conceptualized oath takers. Now let's step into it a little deeper. How many people in the tape called The Plan? I suggest that African people always try to say that the enemy is so many people that we can never conceive what the enemy is. And any of you who are leaving who want to buy tapes or anything, my tapes are out there under the table. We'll put them out for you if you're interested. This is a book called The Leadership Library. It's a book of 12 books. And it says on the front, you can purchase this for about $2,200. It says this: for 25 years, we have engaged in studying and analyzing the structure of American institutions, with emphasis on the leadership of each. We have compiled a database of approximately blank number of people whom we have identified by name, position, title, address, phone, fax number, and email address. These blank number of people are the institutional leaders of the United States. Where they lead, the nation follows. We believe that our work constitutes one of the longest and largest societal studies ever undertaken by a private enterprise for its own account. And in this book are a blank number of people, are nice profiles of the institutional leaders who, where they go, America follows, with pictures and nice profiles and everything. Now, question to you: how many people do you believe are in this manual that represents the number of people who are the institutional leaders of America?
This is the last part to this epic, eye-opening, and timeless offering. 1 out of 5,000 for our Baba, our Safo warrior ancestor, Baba Steve Copley. Honest to him, honest to his family, Mama Nataki, Steve Copley Jr., and the rest of the family for their offering and for their continuance of pushing this legacy. Make sure y'all hit up Steve Copley Jr. for these lectures, Mama Nataki for these lectures. Let's continue to do the work and review when need be. You know, our brother dedicated his life and all that he had to ensure that our future generations would get this information. So a lot of the things that he laid out were before and after his time. So he departed from us in our physical sight in 2012. You know, this is 8 years since his transition. So let's keep in mind and hold space for those who operate in the spiritual sense of him and his family, and those who operate in the physical sense of him and his family. We are professed students of Baba Steve Copley Sr. Let's see some evidence in that reciprocation to those loved ones that he left here as evidence of his manifestation in the physical form. So his children, grandmother Nataki, they all are in need of your support, your honor, your love, and your financial contributions. They are continuing in his work, and those who are African liberators are continuing on his work in this fashion. So let's continue. And I'm going to play this last one. And pardon some of the delays, wherever we're broadcasting right now, are putting in this, blurred image. So sometimes you'll see me stop and fix it because I really want y'all to hone in and see in and, share this and make sure that the youth that you're working with know who Baba Steve Coakley Sr. is and know how to get in contact with his legacy, his family. We are his extended family, and we owe to his existing physical family based off the contributions that he left, the sacrifices that he made. So, let's be reciprocal in that fashion and converge on his family and ensure that his legacies are protected on every way that you know how. So let me play this last part to ensure that clarity on the battlefield leads to change, as he spoke up. So we're dealing with that. And let's continue to move. So let's go with this last part, Confusion on the Battlefield. You can get this DVD from his son, Steve Coakley Jr., and from his wife, Mama Nataki. You can get these DVDs, okay? So let's not just rely on YouTube and these places. Let's be reciprocal. I don't care if you don't have a DVD player. Find a way to support. They got Moringa. They got some other things that are going on. Let's support them. Steve Coakley Jr. got the Black Think Tank. He's in Ghana. Over there on the west side. West Africa. Let's get involved with these initiatives that are going on. All right, so let's honor our Asafos, our warrior ancestors in the way that they should be. Let's uplift their families and let's not let this legacy go in vain. So much of that body of work is out there, that's in existence, and it's uncovering from around the world by the day. So if you have some of these lectures, some of this part of this family legacy, get a hold of Steve Coakley Jr. or Mama Nataki. So they're looking to recoup. A situation was kind of like the Assad man cut up in pieces, where his legacy was spread all over the planet, and they're seeking to reconnect to, ensure that this intellectual property that's out here continues to be disseminated. So love and honor to that divine royal Coakley family, and may we continue to do our best as extended family to be proper ambassadors to this legacy, to this line, and continue on this work. So let me get back to this last aspect, fusion on the battlefield.
$25, $15. Now we got 12 books. He said we got 15 names. That means we got one name in a book. I said we got 12 books. It costs $2,200. How many people do you think in this book are the institutional leaders that run America? 100, 500, 500, 1,000, 200,000. 300, like the committee of 300. Okay, what else? 5,000. Okay, what else? 600. Okay, last call. 10,000. Closest person was the person who hollered out 200,000. Because in reality, the book has 350,000 names. Now, what that suggests is this. these honkies for us have conceptualized all the people who got jobs in America who run shit against the people. And it's how many thousand? Okay, now, to this 350,000 people who work, we add 50,000 names. Why do we add 50,000? These are the born people, the inherently rich. Rockefeller ain't in here because he ain't got no jobs. Carnegie ain't in here. Miss Chandler ain't in here, the LA Times. She ain't in here because she ain't, well, I take that back. She is in the media section. I take that back. But the aristocratic families without jobs, they ain't in here. Therefore, we add 50,000 to reflect the rich. So we got 350,000 operators, 50,000 rich. Don't tell me the revolution got away forever. How many of us do it take to whip 400,000? What do that tell you? If it's 400,000, now some of these are black people, so we ain't got to beat all of them. Some of them probably are conscious white people, we may have to beat them. But I'm just saying, we don't go in there counting them, we go in there counting them all. If they come across, then that's a plus. So how many black people do it take to beat 400,000? Okay, it could be 400,000. Let's say we put 800,000 on them. Let's say we put 1,200,000 black people out of 30 million black people. How long would it take for black liberation if we didn't have confusion on the battlefield about that the enemy is so goddamn big we can't beat the bastards? Damn no good bastards. You understand what the leadership is perpetrating? That the enemy is so big you couldn't beat them, but they ain't never said how many it was. They ain't got no computation on this thing. Oh, the system's so big, so they call it the system. They call it the white man. They call it the Jew. They call it the man. They got all these nondescript MOs of the enemy. All of that prevents you from having clarity. So in the plan, it says 300,000, 350,000 plus 50,000, the 400,000 people factor. Now, that's one of the things in the 10 things you would tell black people if this was your last lecture. Another one suggests this, that black liberation is much like a chess game. How many phases are there in a chess game? How many phases are there in a chess game? 3, the opening, the middle, and the end game. How many phases in the revolution? 3, the opening, the mid game, and the end game. Finite. Now, what does that suggest? The concept is called pawns linked together. Can I borrow you two brothers for a minute? Anybody here play chess? Raise your hand. Okay, it's a game of war, it's a good game. This is the concept of pawns linked together. Just stand next to me. We're at a game of chess, and we're pawns linked together. Now, if I step forward as a pawn, the way the game goes is, if these two brothers are connected to me, give me some arm. No, stay back, stay back. Give me your arm. Give me your arm tight. Okay, if these brothers are connected to me, if someone takes me, what happens? One of them takes them. Check, check. So pawns link together in the opening of the game. Link together in the opening of the game. Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. Take a strategic position on the board and check. Strategic. The pawns are linked together. The board is confrontational. The pawns have linked themselves in a way that for every pawn loss, a pawn arises. So now the consequence of taking that pawn by a bigger piece has been reduced because no big piece want to go down for a pawn. No hunky want to submit to a nickel.
Exactly. Right. That's right.
Okay? Now, in the mid game, what we shall do is, if it's a rook facing a rook, a bishop facing a bishop, the queen facing the queen, trade them away. Trade them away. In the mid game of the black revolution, we're going to trade away the leadership. Trade them away. Trade them away. Confusion on the battlefield. Confusion on the battlefield. In the mid game, trade away the leadership. Now, any of you who know chess know that when you get to the end game, because the pawns link themselves together, in the absence of the leadership, what shall happen? The pawns become the leaders due to advancement, not to declaration, not to heredity, not the finance.
That's right.
But because linked together, they struggled to the highest role. But linked together, they took over the board. But in the mid game, we had to trade away the leadership. So I don't want you to get confused. And this is a point of challenge to the leadership. Come quick before you get calculated away. All right, check.
Check.
Okay. Plebiscite, 400,000. The chess, economic sanctions. Right now, the hunkies are scared all over the media. The hunkies are scared because Christmas ain't going down because it ain't snowing on the east and the Midwest. So because it's 75 in New York, I left Maryland, it was 75. I come here, it was 53. But the point is, people ain't going Santa Claus. So it's slowing down the period, November, December, and January. The hunky sells 60% of everything they got in that 3-month period. And that means, as a point of focus, that you have the opportunity to impact their ability to make the money that they use to exploit your opportunities. Exactly. And to do that, you have to do nothing. You just have no frivolous buying with non-black businesses in the months of November, December, and January. You can just do that. Hang in there. Now, we also know that it's certain things that you can't buy black. So it's no frivolous buying. Just put that in as a conscious point. That we take focus on that fact. I think before the time gets late, I need to show you this because I don't want there to be no confusion about this. And I was telling you about it and didn't show it to you. And sometime before I leave, I'll show you the rest of the crossfire and all of that. You won't miss it. All that happened was where it's supposed to be 2 against 2, it was 1 against 3. And in terms of a black man, that's good odds. We kicked all 3 of them.
That's right.
When it was over, they was all beating each other for failure to beat me, and I was just laughing my ass off. Braden was deputy director of C.I.A. You know what Buchanan was. In fact, at the end of the show, Buchanan says, you know, I really was against having a show like this, but kind of glad to hear Copley get his views on our national TV like this. Yeah. Knowing that he a poor hunky, ain't got nothing. He speak against the Trilateral, the ADL, Brofman, all the rest of them. He done it. He just a poor hunky. He ain't gonna never get united with nothing. Chapter 3. Okay. Okay.
For the man who is my teacher, my mentor, the man who...
Okay, I want to show you this crowd shot because what it will show you, and I got a couple of pictures to show you. Let me pull up that picture, which is in my black bag right here, of what it really looked like, so that we don't have this confusion here. Huh? Well, brother, you may have to move in, you know. There we go. This is the shot. We'll get to this. Of course, I want you to look at this. This is a shot of camera in my hand from the front of the stage. want you to get a shot of the density of black people. Just want you to get the density now. They ain't gonna tell you, they told you it was 6,000 people there. I just want, there was 7 full blocks just like that. You know, 7 full blocks just like this. And this is a shot from a camera I had in my hand. See that? Now they're getting the blue shirts out of there. Of course, C-SPAN was low, so you couldn't see the people. Devastating, huh? And right while he's saying only 6,000 people were there. Right while he's showing it. I wish this thing had some slow motion.
Remarks caused an uproar and a pitched battle over holding the event at all. Now the violence that came at the end of the event is being blamed by some of Mayor Giuliani and the police department, who closed off the event only a couple of minutes after the permit expired. The mayor says the police did the right thing.
Adolf Giuliani. One of the best things to do is to demonize the opposition.
That's right.
There's no slow motion.
We're injured. Doug Johnson has more.
Walker Boulevard quiet this morning as remote city streets this Labor Day, but Saturday afternoon an estimated 6,000 people joined a march organized by Khalid Mohammed.
6,000 people, Jack.
Caused an uproar and a pitched battle over holding the event at all. Now the violence that came at the end of the event is being blamed by some of their...
I can't pause it just to stop it right there. Because when you see the density of this picture, it'll explain what you're looking at. 7 full blocks. You see how dense it was, right? But again, they called the thing in Atlanta 10,000. We'll get it around after. At the end, there's a B up here. You'll have to just look at them. I can't figure out a better way to get it out there, to show it to you.
Assalamu alaikum.
We got Chris Rock.
Mr. Cantor Deborah, pump it up, boy.
They got Chris Rock saying Khaled ran away. We got a film. I'll show you before I leave here. Khaled coming right up the middle of the crowd.
Million youth park. Oh, no. In fact, we'd love to tangle with you today. Isn't it a good feeling to outnumber the police sometimes? Isn't it a good feeling to know that in unity we can do whatever we will? We want you now, brothers and sisters, in a very orderly way.
Masterful stroke, my brother. It's the strongest 7-minute speech. Because really it did just what had to be done. It affirmed the principles of the people.
Walker Boulevard quiet this morning as remote city streets this Labor Day, but Saturday afternoon an estimated 6,000 people joined a march organized by Khalid Mohammed, whose incendiary remarks caused an uproar and a pitched battle over holding the event at all. Now the violence that came at the...
I'll be around showing you these films. We'll have some tape players running so you can look at them. See some of the news pieces and the fight scenes. They got a lot of good fight scenes. But you need to see black people fighting. White people with guns. You need to see that with smoke things off, riot guns, everything. But they were a little jumpy. The hunkies were a little edgy, and that's important that you would see that. And we'll make that available. I'm gonna be around in the city. You can write this address down, 2700 West 54th Street. That's the old Amin Ra Church. It's now a thing called Enlightened Minds. It's a school. We'll be there Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at Enlightened Minds, 2700 West 54th Street. It's like a block or two from Slauson, right across from the Marcus Garvey School. Same thing with Brother Onion Palmer. We'll be in there doing one on Intel 2000, one on the Deep Oath Takers, and one on the Million Youth March report, where I can go deeper into those things. things so that it would make it a little bit more clarifying for you. One of the things I put up here now is that whites have gone about the business now of developing something called black paranoia. They want to instigate the fact that black people who question what white people do must be paranoid, must be some conspiracy theorists. They got a way of capitalizing you in a way that don't nobody want to deal with you. So there's 100 books. I'm on page 3 of this book. I'm on page 3 of this book. There's other books that have come out. George just did a series on conspiracy. It's a whole series of things kind of coming out to repudiate the thought that black people would want to rebel against the great land called America. I guess, I don't know where we're standing on time. How we doing? Just give me some cue here. What time is it? 9:15. Okay. And I guess I should just holler out. Anybody got a question or anything? Huh? Okay. Anybody got a question or anything? Maybe we go. Huh? Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, Thursday night at 7 o'clock, and Saturday night at 7 o'clock at that location, 2700 West 54th Street. It's near 5th Avenue or something. What is that? 5th? Fifth and 54th. Yeah, right block from Slauson. Again, you know where the Marcus Garvey School is. 15 minutes. Okay. Question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So let me take the Q&A and then I'll finish the lecture on top of that. Okay, that'd be easier for me. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if we need. Go ahead. Just holler, I guess, so they can hear you.
Yes, sir. In terms of black leadership, looking at quantitative statement, who specifically are we talking about?
Which one?
Black leadership, because of course there is a question of black leadership because of the confusion on the back. If you could just clarify that point, I think it would give me a whole lot of insight.
Okay, tell me what clarity you're seeking. I just don't understand. What you're saying.
I agree with you that there has to be some transition and changes with leadership. But I'm just like this mirror, this cloud is over who is the enemy. And I'm definitely in appreciation for you for the last 10 years of my life for making that quantitative. I'm trying to get a quantitative analysis of when you speak of enemy, when you speak of black leadership, who are you speaking of?
Well, let's take prototype. What is a leader? The head of an organization. And there's books I could pull out that say Organizational Directory of the Black Community. Which ones? All of them. All of them. Some of them are self-declared. Some of them are far more obvious. All of them. And then I said, hey, come quick, say something. Get calculated against. They can say, what right do you have? The right of the victim, the one who suffered while they lived well. Question? Yes, brother.
Yeah, study a lot of different war tactics, for Napoleon and stuff like that. And I've seen, dealing with different people, I also go to paintball a lot. I've seen
Go
a
to
lot
what?
of white kids.
Supposed to go to what?
Paintball.
Paintball. What's
games,
this?
war games.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Yeah, okay.
Go there a lot, and I see like a lot of white boys, 11 years old, they can like snipe something certain yards away. And I honestly feel like I'm forward pushing everything, but I feel that we as blacks are totally untrained, know what I'm saying, for the revolution that's about to occur. Because they got stuff, you know what I'm saying, I mean, just their tactics, they are war. A lot of us, you know what I'm saying, walk around thinking hardcore, just thinking thugs. But we don't even know how to stand firm and point the gun the correct way.
Hold it now. You said we.
We as in general, not
Now,
individuals.
hold it now. If I say computation, you got to show me.
Okay, I understand that. I'm just saying, we as the masses that I've seen, you see what I'm saying, as far as the 85. But I'm talking about, I know in other individual groups, you know what I'm saying, the individuals are the original that train. But I'm just saying, as far as like us going to competition without being trained, I see us right now getting wiped out. We don't even do anything about nurses. Or, you know what I'm saying, we get shot, where do we go? We don't run to the hospital. See what I'm saying? Okay.
Okay, and again, if I see the firmness of your conclusion and I ask you for the computation and it's opinion and not fact, then I interject opinion. And so, again, as you stood up, well, listen now.
Okay, I'll just make a.
Because see, there's certain faulty conclusions there. One conclusion is all weapons are guns. So somebody might be versed in one thing that you might think is a weapon, might something you can talk about or deal with. But someone else may be versed in biological extermination that might do more than a gun ever could do in the quietest of the night or through the cleanness of the water system. You don't know what a weapon is. A good bowl of shit from a pig-eating African could be a good weapon. Fecal matter. Most people get sick from fecal matter. You can't tell me a poor person can't produce fecal matter and fuck up somebody. So qualified weaponry, there are many more things beyond guns that can inhibit populations. Honkies ain't figuring out how to shoot niggas. They trying to come up with ethnic weapons so that they can attract something to your melanin and that would be repelled by their Caucasian.
What I was saying wasn't a statement, it was a certain opinion, because I do lack knowledge, you know what I'm saying? I might be ignorant in the state of that situation. But that is my concern, because I love black people, I would hate to see immediate deaths. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, computation again. What makes you suggest that if it broke out, we would die? Again, you said based upon the fact of what I thought. But that might be based, like you said, you did say, from where you stand. But from where you stand might be such a minuscule moment. Like some people have been out here 50 years. Where we stand, that the comprehensiveness of the dialogue makes me on edge. Again, based on computation. But I said it would happen, it would have to happen. Because that's the way it does. And it can be arrogant about doing it in spite of computation. Because it has to do it. It don't have no choice. Yeah, you coming, it's coming. It got to do it. So we get it on, let's get it on. Next question. Yes. Things that we have the best of that makes what we're trying to pull off more likely. But at least you could hear the faulty computation. Next question.
The Crossfire, on Crossfire, the clips that you showed, the Jew boy was coming at you with all kinds of racism. Was he able to disprove your argument?
No, not at all. In fact, what I was able to do was to project the agenda that we had across the television, which was that we are focusing on the core of the people who are the enemy. A little later on, he says, well, Copley, you're one of the leaders. And I said, politics is not the game that we will look for to play for black liberation, which brings me to another point. I ain't gonna let no non-political scientists jump into politics and say, hey, all us play politics. Because we didn't try that shit and the shit don't work. Having went all the way up to the mayor, I know how the shit work. In the major city, Chicago bigger than most countries. I know the administration of a city, dealing with the sewers,
the street lights, the airports, the buses, the schools, the financing of such a things. You have black people who know how to run cities, who have been denied opportunity due to white supremacy. Now, when Frances come in here tomorrow, she's gonna break down the schism of white supremacy. But I break down the white supremacist.
So what I'm saying is,
And the loyalists in the black community,
so
conscious or unconscious.
So, all right,
Go ahead.
the racist venom he was spewing towards you, I'm saying that was a smoke screen because of the fact he could not disprove the argument that you presented. That's what I got from that.
Right, and in fact, and then I also took it in a way that let me know that his conversation to ridicule and dehumanize me was not as important to me, and that I could eat that up, not feeling that I was on the line over his observation and go right on over that and say, you know, in spite of that, let's go on back to Trilateral, Council on Foreign Relations, Bilderberg. Let's go back to that, and we understand this. He's immature. We going back. Herb, you're immature. Let's go on. And even if he sees me today, he'll run from me. He walking in now. In fact, you all know at the great debate, when Larry Elder, when I go to start up, Herb starts hollering out the front row. He starts talking shit in the middle of the black community with 10 friends. He starts making noise, and I say, hey, hold it, just a minute. I turn down and say, look, Herb, I ain't forgot you was in Riverside.
If I have not convinced you now, in spite of all of the efforts over all of these years to stop critical information about the enemy from being relayed on a grassroots level, if I have not convinced you by now, I will never convince you. After I left here in the last program, I listened to some of the commentary in regards to the 10 hours worth of information that I had presented here and in other places that was accessible to the people. The information, the best I can tell in lieu of any challenge to repudiate it, is beyond reproach. One's personal feelings about how they had to swallow or accept or listen to the things that I say in carrying those facts have found that it is not the convincing of the information that will make us move. The facts are irrefutable. But the enemy is so wise that it becomes the personality of the bearer of the information that stops the people from beating the enemy that kicks them all day and all night. I listened to some of the laughter, and I felt so bad for the victims, because the leadership, I know, does what it must do so that it can contain and control the people from beating the specific honkies that got the money, the 0.1% of the population that controls 72% of the wealth. That 0.1% pays a lot of money to be protected, and it protects itself in some very subtle, unusual, and almost happenstantial ways. That happenstantial disengagement or disrespect of the knowledge is what our community has suffered from. If you watch Garvey, I'll stand here and talk to you 5 hours about Cecil Rhodes, pick up philosophy and opinion, and there's Garvey on Cecil Rhodes. But you don't know Garvey for fighting Cecil Rhodes, because the leadership had to assure that he was not the subject. It's Du Bois versus Garvey. when it came down to Malcolm X. And Malcolm had kicked to the point of wanting to get at the jugular vein of the hunky, the last speech. It's not Elijah Muhammad. It's the international white power structure that's headquartered in New York, Paris, England, etc. And they were imperial, colonial remnants, and they continued. And he said it, but the last speech was stricken from the record by Spike Lee as incoherent. And the result was, it was Malcolm versus Elijah. Every time the engagement comes, here it's Coakley versus Amos Wilson. It's not Coakley versus the honky, because Coakley gonna kill the honky. And Coakley doesn't want to have to beat or abuse his own people for the privilege to kill the honky, because the honky gone. Nothing, no ridicule, no misstatements without documentation, no petty little frivolous little laughter that I heard on those tapes was the sickest thing I ever heard from a people with no force. You sit up and look at an election, and each and every time, I don't care if it's Dinkins, Good, Brad, I don't care who it is, what they win, I don't care if it's the African group, the religious group, we have failed somehow to stop the honky. And all I ever want in life is the privilege to fuck him up. That's all I want. Now, if you're going to get in my way and I'm going to fuck the honky up, I might end up having to fight with you on the way for the right to beat the honky. But I don't want to beat you, but I might if I have to. And I will accept the abuse and the disrespect of me and the information for the right to fulfill the mission. I am beyond the sensitivity of your opinions. It will not change the honky. He is advancing without hesitation. Look at the honky. It's the honky right here in the neighborhood. I was just in Boston last night, and New York Times bought the Boston Globe, so it's the same honky. Colonialism is back and not a moment too soon. Anybody know anything about this article? Y'all read under this? Yeah, it was in the Times, it sure was, but it said that honky getting ready to take Africa. But ain't we got nobody on the shift called Africa? Ain't nobody on shift called Africa, point Africa. We got religious point, political point, African point. But no, it's Coakley versus the brother. While the honky advances. Honky say, nigga so confused, I can tell him in his face, I'm gonna take his ass
So we got a little added bonus on the way out. Shout out to Steve Coakley Jr. for supplying that. You can get that lecture and everything else from him directly or from Mama Nataki. So again, as I beseeched earlier, let's do the legacy of our Baba, Safo warrior ancestor, Baba Steve Coakley Sr. justice by reciprocating that and reaching out to his immediate legacy, us as, children of Baba, taking care of his family to ensure that this legacy lives on, and not simply the legacy in inaction, but the legacy in action moving forward. So shout out to Mama Nataki, Steve Coakley Jr., and the rest of the Royal Coakley family. Let's uplift them, venerate him, and continue on his work. Peace and Black Power.